Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Hoopers Lounge with myself, Max, and my co host, Alex. Today, we'll be wrapping up the division previews that we've been working on the past few weeks with the Pacific Division in the Western Conference. And we also have some NBA news to kick off the show. So I'll kick it over to Alex for that.
So the NBA recently announced they're going to fine James Harden $100,000 for the comment he made against Daryl Morey when Harden called Morey, who's now the GM of the 76ers, a liar and said that he'd never play for him again. The Players Association is disputing this fine, and we're just going to see how this all plays out. But this is just more unnecessary drama for the 76ers, a team that was supposed to contend for a championship and has just been riddled with distractions this offseason.
Yeah, and also the Players Association is disputing the Harden fine, saying that it's unfair for a player to comment his personal beliefs and then be punished for it. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes moving forward. But that's just a little update on the James Harden situation, and it is really up in the air to see what team he'll play for right now. So it's anybody's guess, and hopefully for both parties, they can figure it out sooner than later before this lingers into the regular season.
In addition to lose, we finally got good news about Lonzo Ball. Stephen A. Smith called him out and said Lonzo can't even get up from his sitting position, and Lonzo went out and posted a video of him doing that at least 10 times. So we know he can get up if he's sitting.
Yep.
We don't know if he can dunk yet, but it's okay. You don't need to do that in the NBA. Who needs to dunk?
No, you don't.
But real talk, this is the first good news we've heard about Lonzo since went down with an injury in January 2021. Most people, including myself, have assumed and are assuming that his career is over. And while this doesn't change my mind, it leaves me with a smidge of optimism that Lonzo will be able to rehab himself back into NBA shape.
Yeah, and with this news, also they just announced I think last week actually, that he's out for the entire season this year, which sucks. But hopefully he'll be back next year and ready to rock.
All right, let's kick it up. Let's start with our Pacific Division predictions and previews. Max, we'll start with you, and we'll start with your favorite team. Let me hear you meet Rod Curry for the next 5 minutes.
Okay.
Golden State, let's run it.
Okay, so the Golden State Warriors, who are the greatest team since Michael Jordan's Bulls, they are an interesting team this year because for the past 2-3 years, they've been stuck in a win now / rebuild phase where they're good enough to compete for championships, but half of their roster consists of players that need to develop for the future once the Big Three retires. And they completely threw that out the window this season, starting midway through last year when they traded James Wiseman. And then this year when they traded Jordan Poole for Chris Paul, they've completely thrown the young players that needed to develop out the window. And they have transitioned fully into win now, which I am 100% behind. Curry is one of those players where it seems like he gets better every year, which really doesn't make sense. But he is still a top 3 player in the NBA right now. He's the best point guard of all time. Those are his words and mine, but his words. Klay Thompson is still one of the best shooters in the league. I wish he would stop bragging that he has 4 rings and worry about winning a 5th one, but that's just me. And Draymond Green is also one of the best defenders in the NBA and probably one of the best defenders of all time. His IQ on that side of the ball is outstanding. With that being said, I believe the Golden State Warriors are going to finish in the top 4 of the Western Conference this year, with my MVP obviously being Steph Curry. And my X factor this year is Klay Thompson. I think if he can get back to the second Splash Brother that we all know and love, this team is going to be very hard to beat come playoff time. If Klay's hitting the open shots, spacing the floor, contributing somewhat on defense, and not getting in his own head and not trying to get in other players' heads by holding up 4 fingers every time he gets upset, I think the Warriors are a dangerous team this year. And with Chris Paul, that addition will only help the young guys that we did not trade, like Kuminga and Moody off the bench. Those guys are going to have monster seasons just being spoon-fed layups by Chris Paul. So I have high expectations for the Warriors this season, and we're going to win the championship.
All right. Well, the Warriors are always a threat to win the championship. They have historically been a team ever since their 73 win season that has kind of coasted through the regular season. Even with KD, the post KD era, the year they won in 2022, they haven't really cared much about the regular season. Even last year, they only ended up as it was the 6th seed, correct? They were the 6th
Yeah,
seed.
that's correct.
I don't think they're going to get a top four seed, but that doesn't mean they aren't a championship threat. As long as they have the big three of Curry, Thompson, Green, those three pair so well together, and they'll always be a contending team with that trio. Um, with that being said, I don't think they're going to have the regular season success that you're expecting them to have. I think around the 5 or 6 seed is a good guess for them. Maybe they'll slip into the play-in games and be the 7th seed, but I don't see them having any trouble getting out of that. Um, but it's not because they don't have the talent. It's just they've been kind of sludging through the regular season because they know how to win the playoffs. So it doesn't really matter what seed they get. My MVP for the team is, as like you said, Steph Curry. It's obvious. Greatest shooter of all time, greatest point guard of all time, and as long as he's in the game, Golden State will always have a chance to win. My X factor is different than yours. I have Andrew Wiggins because when they won in 2022, I thought Andrew Wiggins was the second best player on the court. He had Clay still coming back from injury. He wasn't his full self. Jordan Poole is good but inconsistent. So I thought Wiggins was the second best player. And then last year he missed a lot of time with a personal issue. It was like half the season he missed. And he never got into true peak Wiggins shape for the playoffs. And I think that's a big reason they went out early to the Lakers. So if Wiggins can play how he did in their championship year, I think the sky's the limit for Golden State. I think they could be a contender in the Western Conference.
I agree with that Wiggins take a lot. Last year with the personal issue and the rumors flying around, that didn't help his, his flow of the game, his opportunity to learn more from this offense because he's only been with the Warriors for 2 seasons, so he doesn't know that much about how to play with these guys. He's still learning. He can still get better. And I love Andrew Wiggins. I think he's one of the best players on our team right now, and I agree with that take. However, I disagree with your sludging through the regular season. Last year, we had a lot of off the court drama that had to do with that. But the year we won the championship, just 2 seasons ago, we finished third in the Western Conference. We finished third.
Last year, you couldn't win a road game to save your life.
If Draymond Green did not punch Jordan Poole before the season started, we would have been better than the 6th seed in the West. That is a fact.
You won like 4 road games all year.
Because we
all
couldn't
year.
trust each other on the road. At home, you have a motivation to play in front of your fans. But when you're on the road, you have to play for each other. And when you get glocked in the face by one of your teammates, you cannot trust him on the road. That's just how humans work. Like, that doesn't make sense. But 2 years ago, when we won the championship, when there was no off-the-court drama, we finished third in the Western Conference. We took the regular season seriously, was able to get home court advantage, not only in the first round, but in the conference finals, we had home court advantage. And that was a huge dividends for us that season. So, yes, last year we did not take the regular season seriously. I agree with that. But, like, as a whole, I feel like the Warriors always take the regular season seriously because they know how good that they are when they play at home. They are almost unbeatable at home.
All right, I can accept that. That's fair. That's fair. I'll take that. Take my L on that one. With that being said, let's move on to our next team, though. The team that made arguably the biggest splash of the offseason in the trade for Bradley Beal, the Phoenix Suns, who traded away pretty much all their depth, any depth piece they have, any reliable starter, gone. For the trio of Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker. What are your expectations for this trio this year?
Well, for the past couple of years, it feels like Phoenix has been in that championship or bust category. And I feel like that can't be any truer than right now. In my opinion, they have the best big three in the league as it currently stands, with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker being probably the best duo in the league. And then adding a all-star caliber scorer in Bradley Beal, who's obviously, in my opinion, an upgrade from Chris Paul at this point in Chris Paul's career. Phoenix is in win now mode. They must win a championship, or they are in jeopardy of losing everything they created, 4 years ago when they got Chris Paul, when they drafted DeAndre Ayton, and when they made a championship run in 2020, only to fall short to Milwaukee that year. They need to win They need to win the championship. They need to make it back to the finals, and they need to show the NBA that they are a real contender, because the last couple years in the playoffs, they have just been embarrassed by teams that have less star power but are just a better overall team. They've been embarrassed by those teams. First, it was Dallas with Luka, and then it was Jokic last year with Denver. So I think Phoenix needs to learn how to play as a team, and because they obviously have more talent than any other NBA roster right now, in my opinion. With that big three, with DeAndre Ayton, that starting four right there could win them a championship if they play as a unit, instead of playing like four individual star players. So with that being said, I expect them to finish similar to the Warriors, top four, preferably top two for Phoenix, because I feel like they definitely need to take the regular season seriously. My MVP, this was kind of hard, but I went with Kevin Durant because I think he is better than Devin Booker right now. Kevin Durant is one of the most unguardable players in the league. So is Devin Booker. But if I had to choose one, I probably would take Kevin Durant. So that's why I chose Kevin Durant as the MVP. And my X factor is DeAndre Ayton. I need to see how good this kid is without Chris Paul. This is his prove-it year for me, because if he doesn't play good this year, I would not be surprised if Phoenix tried to flip him at the trade deadline to try and get maybe some picks back, or maybe some good bench players to help the three starters. So I think DeAndre Ayton in the first half of the season needs to prove the Phoenix Suns organization right, that they made the right draft pick a couple years ago, and show that he's not reliant on Chris Paul to get him, his 18, 19 points a game.
I honestly don't know if I agree with your take that this Suns roster is better constructed with Bradley Beal than Chris Paul. Chris Paul is more of a playmaking guard. He's a pass first point. And when you have two elite scorers like Booker and Durant on your team, we saw what we saw with Brooklyn, that adding a third elite scorer usually doesn't end well. And yet that's exactly what Phoenix did. There's only one ball to go around the court. And yet you have three people that need the ball to have an impact on the game. Chris Paul didn't need the ball to have an impact on the game. He could distribute it. He could play defense. He didn't need to score. He could spoon feed DeAndre Ayton. Ayton was a lot better with Chris Paul on the court, like you said. And without him, will Ayton be able to still get those easy buckets? Ayton has the tools to be a superstar center. It's been an effort issue his whole life, his whole NBA career. And without Paul giving in those easy pick and roll buckets, like you said, Ayton's really going to need to put an effort on the offensive boards, on putbacks, on the defensive side, in order to prove to the Suns that he is a valuable piece of this core. My MVP for the team is, I had Devin Booker. I think Devin Booker has the best chance on the team to win an MVP, and I think he actually outplayed KD in their 2-round playoff run last year. I thought he was the best player on the court. He was putting up 30, 35 points, averaging every night on the regular with incredible efficiency. There was some stat that was going on in the playoffs that Devin Booker was shooting like at one point 80% from the field in the last like 3 or 4 games, which is absolutely absurd for a shooting guard to do. And I think if Booker can just carry that momentum over, I have him as a dark horse for MVP this year. I think he could end the Giannis, Jokic, Embiid MVP run that they've had over. X factor, I also had Ayton, because this team's going to do or die with the success of their big man. We know this team's going to be able to score. They have 3 of the best scorers on their team. What we don't know is how well this team is going to be able to defend, and how well this team is going to be able to play when they sit 1 or 2 of those scorers. And both of those factors are going to be decided by the play of Ayton. If Ayton can be the defense, at least an above average center on defense, which he has all the physical tools to, if he can do that and he can help be a second scoring option when they rest two of their stars at once, this Phoenix team is a threat to win. If Ayton can't get to that level, I see Phoenix having another disappointing playoff exit.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page here that the Phoenix Suns' success revolves around their starting center. He is the key to the championship run that their fans have been hoping for forever now. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things play out. The one thing I will say, though, you mentioned the Brooklyn Big Three. when all three of them were healthy, they were damn near unstoppable. And I think that's going to be similar. You just don't have three elite defenders on any NBA roster that can guard all three of the elite scorers on the Phoenix Suns any given night, in my opinion.
Milwaukee does. Drew Holiday, Giannis, Brook Lopez. Yeah, we're locking them up.
Who is Brook Lopez going to guard? Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, or Bradley Beal? Who is he going to guard?
All three at once. He's a paint protector.
Yes. Okay. No. Giannis and Drew Holiday can take two of them, but the third one is going to cook Brook Lopez
can take two of them
all day.
Giannis can take two of them by himself. Did you see this man's wingspan? He can take two of them by himself.
The dude who you just said is a dark horse to win MVP, who's shooting 80% from the field. Giannis could take him and Kevin Durant at the same time.
Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday got Booker.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right, hold on. Stay on the Suns.
Okay, I don't think one-on-one, anybody has a team that can match up one-on-one with every single star player on the Phoenix Suns. Maybe you can match up with one of them. Maybe you can match up with two of them. And maybe, like you said, when one goes to the bench, you have a good matchup for that. But when all three are on the court, there's going to be a mismatch somewhere. And Phoenix will exploit that every single possession if they're smart. Either that's, off-ball screens, on-ball screens, whatever, post-ups, you name it. Phoenix is just a matchup nightmare this season, and they have the capabilities to take advantage of that night in and night out.
All right. Let's move on to our next team in the division. We have a team that ended a decade and a half, almost 2-decade-long playoff drought last season in the Sacramento Kings. Now with their playoff drought ended, they're hoping for bigger things this year, maybe to win a playoff series or two. Do you think the Kings are capable of that this year?
No. There's too many good teams.
All right, straight up.
There's too many good teams in the Western Conference for them to win a series, and I feel like they didn't improve at all in the offseason. Now, obviously, there's a lot of ball to be played. Injuries are a factor. Trades are a factor. Improvement is obviously a factor internally for the Kings because they have a lot of young, exciting players. But the roster they put out last year against Golden State, quite frankly, I'm surprised they won 3 games in that series, if I'm completely honest with you. That roster should not be able to compete with the prime Golden State Warriors in the playoffs, but yet they did. So good for them. However, I feel like they're going to need a perfect matchup to win a playoff series this year. I think Sabonis is good, but he's going to get bullied by some of the other centers in the Western Conference. One that comes to mind is obviously Jokic, who bullies everybody. But I think Anthony Davis would bully him if they matched up with the Lakers. There's other guys in the West. DeAndre Ayton, if he lives up to his potential, I think could bully Sabonis in a playoff series. I just think when I watch Sabonis, he doesn't play as big as he looks, if that makes sense. He kind of plays like a guard at center when I feel like he should be playing like a point forward at center, if that makes sense. And also, one of the things that the Warriors exploited last year in the playoff series was Sabonis' shooting. That needs to improve significantly for them to win a playoff series. Or else other teams' big men are just going to sag off in the paint like Draymond Green did all last series and let him shoot elbow jumpers all game and let him go 50%, and you will beat the Sacramento Kings. However, they have one of the most exciting point guards in the league, De'Aaron Fox. I think he's clearly the team MVP. He's the best player on the team. He's a walking bucket, but he can also get his teammates involved when he needs to. And the X factor I have for this team is Keegan Murray. He had a very strong rookie season, especially shooting the three-pointer. If he can develop a more well-rounded game, I think Keegan Murray could be in the conversation for most improved player this year. And he could be that third option for the Kings that they were missing last year. It was Malik Monk for some games, but then some games Malik Monk would just disappear. Kevin Huerter had a terrible postseason series against Golden State last year. They need a third reliable option, and I think Keegan Murray could be that if he develops the way he's capable of.
Agree with what you said about Sabonis. It seems that he typically gets exposed. Even when he was with the Pacers, he typically got exposed in the playoffs. He's not physical enough to defend a true center, and he's not quick enough to defend any forwards. Because of that, he's constantly exposed on defense, and sometimes on the offensive side as well. He's a great regular season player, but I just don't think this is a player that's easy to scheme against when playoff time comes. De'Aaron Fox is a budding superstar in the league. He's going to be one of the top 5 point guards within the next couple of years. He won the first ever Clutch Player of the Year last year, award given to the most clutch player in the NBA. But I also don't think he can replicate that this year. That was a reason for a lot of Sacramento's wins and the reason they got the 3 seed. I'm going to assume Fox kind of goes back to the norm in terms of making those clutch shots instead of the insane levels that he was at this year. And because of that, I expect Sacramento to lose a few more games this year than they did last year. Coach Brad is an awesome coach, and he's getting the most out of the Sacramento Kings roster. But like you said, I don't think this is a roster with enough talent in a loaded Western field to win a playoff series. And the Kings are actually a team I would not be surprised to see regress, not because of they lost players, but because everyone else got better around them when they didn't get better. My MVP is De'Aaron Fox, obviously, for reasons I said earlier. My X Factor, I did not have Keegan Murray. I had Davion Mitchell. For the same reasons you said, they needed a third option. But the Kings were the best offensive in the league last year. They were rated number 1, and they had the number 1 offense in the league last year, yeah. So defense was the issue. Davion Mitchell's nickname is quite literally off night, because anyone he's guarding has an off night. If he can develop any semblance of an offensive game, whether it's a perimeter shot, whether it's slashing, whether it's playmaking, the Kings have something on their hands that'll fix a lot of their defensive problems. Will be able to lock down any member of the opposing backcourt. And I feel like that is huge for a team that had a lot of defensive sieges last year.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just for reference, for people who don't know how bad Davion Mitchell is offensively, he was getting locked up last year in the playoffs by Jordan Poole. So I'll just throw that out there. That's
all you need to know.
That should not happen to anybody in the NBA. I mean, Jordan Poole might steal it a couple times, might play a good defensive possession, but if you're getting locked down by Jordan Poole for 7 games straight, there were some games where Mike Brown didn't even want to put him in there because he was a liability offensively. So yes, he is
great young defensive player.
Yeah, he's another candidate for progression for the Kings, and I do like that X factor. I just feel like Keegan Murray has a better chance of becoming that third option than Mitchell.
Yeah, great young defensive player, still has some potential, but if he doesn't develop an offensive bag, we're just seeing another Patrick Beverley in the league.
I completely agree with that.
And I think the Kings have higher aspirations for Davion Mitchell and Patrick Beverley.
That's a great comparison. I love that comparison, actually.
All right. So on to one of our final 2 teams. We got both LA teams left. Max, which one do you want to start off with?
Since the Lakers always go first in LA, we'll start with the Clippers.
I like that.
We'll start with the Clippers. This is one of my wild card teams this year because I actually think that if the Clippers are fully healthy, they are a top 5 team in the NBA. On any given night, they can beat any given team, and that's a fact. They have one of the best coaches in the league in Ty Lue. They have one of the best players in the league in Kawhi Leonard when he's healthy. Paul George has proven that he can not only be a number 1 guy if he needs to, but he is a spectacular number 2 option behind Kawhi. Westbrook surprisingly looked good in a Clippers uniform for that short stint he had last season with them. I think he was their best player in the first round series against the Phoenix Suns. And that's probably a fact. If Kawhi...
Agree to disagree.
If Kawhi stayed healthy, it would have been Kawhi, but Kawhi didn't stay healthy, and Russell Westbrook was out there dropping 35 points a night against the Phoenix Suns in the first round. So I really liked what Westbrook brought to the Clippers. He brought energy. He brought somewhat like speed and athleticism, which I think the rest of the roster kind of lacks. With that being said, though, the Clippers are an injury-prone team. I'm just going to say it. There's no way that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, one of them is going to get hurt this season. And you can guarantee that. They're at their point in their careers where they just can't stay healthy with the workload that's on their shoulders. If they didn't have to take 25, 30 shots a night to help the Clippers win games, I think they'd be significantly more healthy. And they'd be able to, help other teams win championships if they were only taking 15 shots a night. But their workload with the Clippers is so severe because they just have nobody else that can create their own shot. Their centers are terrible. Zubac is the definition of mid. Plumlee is nothing special. Their point guards, like I said, Westbrook, who, I mean, he's an explosive slasher, but other than that, can't shoot the ball to save his life at this point in his career. They gave away Reggie Jackson to the Denver Nuggets, which I didn't really understand that because I actually kind of liked Reggie Jackson on the Clippers. I thought he was very good with them. And Terrence Mann, I feel like, is one of those players that should have progressed into the third option by now, and he just hasn't shown anything other than an above-average defender, an above-average, 3-point shooter. He's just a good 3-and-D player. And I feel like he could have developed into that third option for the Clippers, especially with all the playing time he gets because Kawhi and Paul George are injured. It surprises me that he hasn't taken advantage of those opportunities and advanced his game to the next level. My MVP is Kawhi, obviously, and my X factor is Westbrook. I think that if he can play as good as he did in the first round last year against Phoenix, this team can make the conference finals. I don't know if they can go past that, but I do think that if they have some favorable matchups and they stay healthy, this team could make the Western Conference Finals this year.
I think people are quick to forget how good Pete Kawhi Leonard is. The last we saw Pete Kawhi Leonard was his one season with the Raptors, and he carried them on his back to a championship. Ever since he got to LA, we haven't seen Kawhi been able to produce a long stretch of, good health, and because of that, he's kind of been forgotten in the NBA world. I saw a post on Instagram a couple days ago that asked if Kawhi never had injuries, would he be top 10 of all time? And I think he would. Because I'm assuming he'd get a lot more accolades and even maybe a couple more rings. Because I think there was a point in the NBA where Kawhi was the best player in the NBA. I think that's safe to say. And I think if Kawhi could have added to his accolades a little more, I think he'd be a consensus top 10. He might be the best player of this generation. Him and LeBron might have been the two talked about instead of him and Curry. With that being said, I think if Kawhi and Paul George can stay healthy, knock on wood, I think the Clippers are on a very short list of NBA teams that can win it all. Kawhi will do Kawhi things. Paul George has been the best second option, best second option in terms of just all around, assisting. Like, he can score with anyone. He's a great defender. He can play make it necessary. I mean, it's a perfect complement for any superstar. And they have good depth. I mean, Zubac is mid, but, mid's better than what some teams have. Aiden. Sorry. What they have that the Suns don't have is depth. And that might prove the point. That might prove to be the difference in playoff matchup. MVP, I have Kawhi. Pete Kawhi is a top 5 player in the NBA. Hopefully we can see him get back to that this year. My X Factor, I actually had Terrence Mann. Because like you said, I expected him to take a jump in development last year, he just didn't. I still expect him to. I see a lot of potential other than a 3-and-D guy. I can see him taking like a Tyrese Maxey-like leap. Honing more on his playmaking abilities, his athleticism. And if the Clippers can get that consistent third option, like the 76ers had with Maxey surrounding their two superstars, Embiid and Harden, I feel like that'll help the team off a lot and take a lot of the strain off Kawhi and Paul George, thus preventing them from getting injured, thus making the Clippers a championship contending team.
Yeah, I think that's not too far out of the picture for them, but my realistic side's kicking in, and I just don't see how they make the I don't see how they become NBA champions without Westbrook, Kawhi, and Paul George all being healthy at the same time. I just don't see it happening.
And we haven't seen that happen.
And one of those three, in my opinion, will be hurt by the time the playoffs start. And hopefully not, because they're three very exciting players to watch. And Westbrook and Paul George have already played together before, so they have some chemistry. Paul George and Kawhi have played for the last couple seasons together, so they have some chemistry. Like, they can put it together, and they, like you said, they have the pieces that not a lot of NBA teams have. It's just a matter of, keeping the pieces together for a full 82-game regular season. And you also mentioned that Paul George is the best number 2 option, which I agree with that, but I think many people would say it's Jaylen Brown. So who would you rather have, Jaylen Brown or Paul George?
I think I'd rather have Paul George. You know why? He has a left hand.
Yeah,
And having a left hand is crucial when the playoffs come.
yeah, I figured.
Now, real talk, Paul. I feel like Paul George scores at a higher level than Jaylen Brown. I feel like he play makes at a higher level than Jaylen Brown. And I feel like he defends at least on the same level as Jaylen Brown.
I think
he's also proved that he could be a one op. He's also proved that he could be a one option with his time in the Pacers, his year with the Oklahoma City Thunder, where he got third in the MVP voting. Jaylen Brown has not proved that he could be a one option yet, and because of that, I think Paul George is consensusly better than Jaylen Brown.
I agree with you on that. I just don't think many people will agree with you on that. So
It was a good question, though.
Yeah,
It was a good question.
just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, with that being said, we'll move on to the final team of the team previews, and that is one of the more popular teams of all time, the Los Angeles Lakers, who currently have the second best player of all time on their roster, LeBron James. One of the best centers in the league, Anthony Davis, and one of the most exciting young players of all time, Austin Reeves. My expectations for the Lakers this year are pretty similar to what they were last year. A team that can have a solid regular season and can make a little run in the playoffs. But very similar to the Clippers, they need to stay healthy. LeBron is old. There's no way around that. He's not getting any younger, and load management is a thing. He's not going to play more than 65 games in the regular season. Anthony Davis has had some injury problems since getting traded from New Orleans to LA. So there's a lot of issues with their health, especially with how dominant they are in the paint. They just get hacked and whacked almost every other possession. So they need to stay healthy like the Clippers. My MVP is obviously LeBron because he'd be the best player pretty much on any NBA team ever. And my X factor is my X factor is D'Angelo Russell. When D'Angelo Russell plays good, the Lakers are very unbeatable. When he gets going and when he can facilitate for himself and for others, the Lakers are a significantly better team. When they just throw him out there and he sucks. D'Angelo Russell, in my opinion, is very similar to what we talked about DeAndre Ayton being for the Suns. He's that hidden piece that needs to click for them to take that next step to the championship level. And I know Austin Reeves is going to perform. I know Anthony Davis is going to perform. I know LeBron's going to perform in the playoffs. I need D'Lo to be there every night, not every other night. And if he is there every night, he could be the missing piece the Lakers need. And that's why I have him as the X factor.
Yeah, first of all, quick shout out to Austin Reeves, coldest white boy in the league, repping for all the unathletic hoopers out there. You know, the Lakers are one of the more polarizing teams in the league. Lakers fans say they're winning the championship. Lakers haters say they're not even making the playoffs. I'm kind of in between that. LeBron is getting older, but at the same time, he's still LeBron. They're still going to win games that he's on the court on. Anthony Davis, as long as he stays healthy, he's a top 10 player in the league. And he's arguably the best two-way player in the league. Can win a defensive player while putting up 25 points a game. But aside that, this Lakers team has a lot of question marks. Reeves has proven to be a good third option, but can he keep that up all year, or was it a flash in the pan?
Yeah,
I think Reeves is good to keep it up, but especially with what we've seen for him playing for Team USA. But obviously, we'll have to see. They got some new pieces. One of those being Cam Reddish, who I actually think is going to take a major leap with the Lakers this year. Anthony Edwards recently called Cam Reddish the hardest player he's ever had to guard. So I think Darvin Ham and the Lakers coaching staff can get Cam Reddish's confidence back up because he wasn't getting a lot of playing time with either the Hawks or the Knicks. And I think Cam Reddish could be a starting small forward or power forward across from LeBron James. My MVP, I have LeBron. He is LeBron. I don't really think I need to explain anything else. Second greatest player of all time, LeBron. That's all. That's all I need.
LeBron James.
My X factor, I have health. My X factor is health. With LeBron's getting older, they're probably going to load manage him more. Anthony Davis, his nickname is Street Clothes for a reason. He's always injured. And if injuries hurt this team might not make the playoffs. Because they're going to be resting LeBron a lot of games, which means they're going to accumulate a lot of losses. And if they can't get enough wins to obviously make up for those losses that they rest their players in, hell, they might not even make the playoffs. But if Davis can stay healthy and help the team on nights that they rest LeBron, this could be a top 3 seed in the West. And that's why this team is so polarizing. It all depends on health of 2 players that have historically the past couple of years missed a lot of games and been unhealthy. The last time we saw them both healthy for a whole year was the 2020 bubble. Ever since then, both of those players have missed good amounts of time in each regular season after that. So we'll have to see how the injury bug, if it bites the Lakers this year or not. And if it doesn't, this is another team in the division that you have to watch out for in what has been a very, very strong division.
Yeah, I would say before the Kings became a playoff contender, this division wasn't the best in the league. But I would say all 5 of these teams I could see making the Western Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Besides maybe Sacramento, but like if they made it, they have the talent to make it. I would just be surprised, but it wouldn't be like they would earn their spot in the conference finals. This division, I think, is the most well-rounded and probably the best division in the NBA as we speak right now. And also, what just came across my phone while we're talking about the Lakers, they just announced that they are unveiling a Kobe Bryant statue in front of the Crypto.com arena this season. So very excited to see that. Rest in peace to the Mamba, one of the greatest Lakers of all time. And
February 8th, 2024.
Yep, that'll be around the All-Star break.
They have 824 on there for Kobe.
So that'll be around
That's awesome.
the All-Star break. So I'll be excited to see that, and I just wanted to throw that in there since we were talking about the Lakers.
All right, we've hit crunch time, and we're trying something new. We're switching it from the blind rankings. Max came up with an idea. It's like a... Max, I'll let you explain it. You know what it is a lot better than I do.
I've been seeing this a lot on social media recently. It's the crossover grids. So they have, if you just search it up on like any search engine, it pops up with NBA, NFL, NHL, baseball, golf, Formula One racing, anything. And it's basically a 3x3 grid with different teams or, categories for players. And this is an all-time list. So think anybody before this upcoming season. So a perfect example is like if you had Phoenix and Washington, Bradley Beal would not work because he hasn't actually played a game for the Suns yet, if that makes sense. Everybody else counts. From the start of the NBA to now, everybody else counts. You get one guess per box, and you cannot use the same player twice. Those are the only rules.
All right.
So
let's run it.
In the first box, we have a player that played for both the Boston Celtics and the Atlanta Hawks.
Al Horford. Al Horford, great defensive center. He's still with the Celtics, right? He still plays for the Celtics.
Yeah,
he's getting up there in age, so
yeah, he still plays.
Hopefully, we can get him a ring soon.
Okay, great guess.
All right, what's next?
41% of players guess Al Horford there. Next, a player that has played for both the Boston Celtics and the Chicago Bulls.
Boston and Chicago. Who's played for both Boston and Chicago? Oh shit.
I'm gonna try and help you, because honestly, I don't know.
Help me out. All right. I can't name a single player who's played for Boston and this is all time, right?
All time, yeah, all time.
Okay. Who the hell is?
Oh, I got it. It's
stupid.
It's Rondo.
Oh, Rajon Rondo.
Yeah.
I forgot he was on the Bulls.
He played for the Bulls for one or 2 years.
Yeah, it was for... It was for like a half year. Didn't he
Yeah.
get traded at the trade deadline?
Probably.
For like half a year. It doesn't even count.
All right. Next, player that played for the Boston Celtics and has won at least 2 NBA championships. This one is pretty easy.
Yeah, I want to say Bird, but I'm not going to just to switch it up. We'll say John Havlicek.
Okay. I was gonna go with Bill Russell, but that's fine.
Actually, Havlicek's hard to spell. To go Robert Horry. Robert Horry.
I already put Havlicek in, and only 4.9% of players
That
guessed
worked.
Havlicek. So good job there.
That's what we like to see. That's what we like to see.
All right, so we went 3 for 3 on the Boston Celtics. Next, we have a player that played for the Miami Heat and the Atlanta Hawks.
Heat and Hawks. I feel like this one should be. Just played for the. Okay. God, it's a lot harder than it should be. Who the hell played for the Heat and the Hawks?
I know these are really like they get your brain working about NBA history.
Man, who the hell's played for the Hawks? No one's played for the Hawks. Dominic Wilkins never played for the Heat. He played for the Hawks. Was it the Hawks' whole career? I think it may have been the Hawks' whole career. Or else it's Bud Webb play.
No idea, but I don't think it was Miami. If he played, I don't think it was Miami.
You got anyone?
No. We can skip it and come back to it if you want.
All right, yeah, we'll come back. We'll come back.
All right. Next up, the Miami Heat.
I need to get them back in my mind though.
The Miami Heat and the Chicago Bulls. This one.
Dwayne Wade.
Okay, I was gonna go Jimmy Butler, but that works too.
Man, why did I not go with Jimmy there? What the hell am I doing? Why did I go with Wade?
All right, Wade also works, but I was gonna go with Jimmy Butler. Okay, next, any Miami Heat player that has won at least 2 NBA championships.
Chris Bosh.
Okay, that's a good one. All right, now we are.
LeBron's too obvious.
Yeah.
We're going Chris Bosh.
Okay, next, any Atlanta Hawks player that's ever scored 40 points in a playoff game.
Trae Young probably has.
I think he has too.
So we'll just be safe and say Trae.
That's correct.
There's no way Trae has scored 40.
That's correct.
Okay, good.
That's correct.
There's no way Trae has scored 40 in a playoff game
Any
yet.
Chicago Bulls player that scored 40 points in a playoff game.
MJ.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad you said MJ.
Might as well just be safe because I don't think Levine has. I don't think DeRozan has.
That's correct. Okay.
I
We only
don't
have
think
2
has.
boxes left for the perfect 9 for 9. All right. You need to name any player in the NBA that has scored 40 points in a playoff game and won 2 championships.
Curry. He's had to score 40 plus.
Yes, he has. He scored 50 against the Kings
Good.
to knock him out of the playoffs this year.
Yeah, the game 7. Yeah, the game 7. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
All right, now the
Last
player who played for the
box.
Hawks and the
Yep.
Heat.
One
Heat.
guess
Come on,
remaining.
come on.
Any player in
Come
NBA
on.
history that has played for the Miami Heat and the Atlanta Hawks. I will be thinking as well. I'm going to try and help you get the perfect 9 for 9.
Oh, that's gonna piss me off so much. Who the hell? Who's played for the Hawks? Are such an irrelevant franchise. Who the hell has played for the Hawks before like 1990? Besides Dominic Wilkins and Spud Webb, they had Bob Pettit way back in the day. God.
Did Birdman ever play for the Hawks?
I don't think so. He played for.
I know he played for the Heat. I don't know.
He played for the. He also played for New Orleans. I don't know if he played for Atlanta. That's not. It's gonna piss me off. This
Yeah.
pisses me off so much.
What if it's somebody obvious that like we're just not thinking of?
That's what's gonna piss me off. If it's maybe it's some like current like guy off the bench, and I'm just missing him completely. Strus is a Cav. Oh, that doesn't even count. He signed this offseason. Who? Who did the Heat lose last offseason? Gallinari's never been on the Heat, right? Danilo Gallinari.
I don't think so. Oh,
I don't think he's. I don't think.
did Dragic ever play for the Hawks?
No, and I don't think so.
Oh,
What about Josh Richardson? Did he ever play for the Hawks? Josh Richardson?
he might have. You want to lock that in as your guess?
I can't think of a better answer. Let's
Okay.
go with Josh Richardson.
We are locking in Josh Richardson for the 9 for 9.
I'm not confident, but he might have. It wasn't.
Incorrect. The correct answer was
Does it say any correct answers?
yeah, Dwayne Dedman.
I was not going to get that. Was that the only correct answer?
That was the most.
That
That was
is
the
the-
most popular correct answer.
Shit.
So we went
I was supposed to say that.
8 for 9 today.
That's not bad for a first time. I'll take it.
Not terrible. We will be back on Sunday with a completely new grid. These come out once a day, kind of
We'll be
like
going 9 for 9.
yeah. I think we did pretty good. I would not have gotten Deadman though. I would have sat here all day and not thought of Deadman. But yeah, that
Where does he play now?
probably the
Is he on? I have no idea.
I have no clue. But yeah, that wraps up today's episode of the Hoopers Lounge. Team previews are done, so we will have something different on Sunday. Not sure what that is yet, but it will not be team previews. We are done with those as we inch closer to the regular season. And thank you guys so much for watching. Follow the socials, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you on Sunday. Peace.
Peace.